Chapter 2. Echoes of my father's voice reverberated in my head. "Jack! You'll be late for your own funeral one day." Childhood words that still stirred memories. Checking in the mirror, I indicated right and at the same time pushed the accelerator pedal hard with my right foot on the car. The Nissan sports car immediately burst into life, and within a couple of seconds was thundering out onto the wet A1M motorway. I was heading north, 57 miles to be exact. I had a thumping headache, but contrary to my father's prophecy, I was not late for my own funeral. I was, however, late for my mother's. I glanced at the dashboard clock. 10:48. My mood immediately dropped. The funeral started at 11. Inevitably, I now knew I'd be late. The consequences, however, of doing so were immense. Friends of my mother were deeply loyal, and quite rightly so. My lateness would be treated with the contempt it deserved. The usual reproach for the black sheep of the family. A lot of tuts and displaced looks. Some unapproving stares. But sometimes things just got in the way. In my case, work. My mother more than anyone understood that. She had accepted what short visits I had made to the UK over the past couple of years. We all carry ghosts with us. My mother knew that. It was just sometimes we needed other space to live our lives in peace. And for me, other space was another country. My sister's phone call telling me of my mother's death had come whilst I was undertaking a protection job in Syria. The conversation had been short. Tearful on her side. One fraught with pain. But I'd been told my mother had died unexpectedly in her sleep. Painless, as best we know. With my job finished, the package, aka Sheikh Fantawi, was delivered safely back to his home in Sharjah. I then could rethink about my family and book the first possible direct flight out of Dubai. And so it was this morning I found myself standing at Heathrow Airport, waiting in line with the others for a cab. Having then trundled through an appalling M25 taxi ride, I arrived back at my home. With a quick shower, change of clothing, repacked, suited and booted, and dressed all in black, I'd opened up the garage door, fired up the Nissan car and started the trip north. I was back in the UK for the first time in 3 years. And my mood was like the weather, drab. A couple of hours earlier, some 40 miles north, based at Hinchinbrook Business Park, Detective Inspector Colin Knapp strode into the open plan office, closely followed by his boss, uniformed ACC Alec Drysdale. Knapp's team looked up as the two men entered the room. They all stood attention as they saw the uniformed boss behind Knapp. Drysdale instructed the team to return to their seats, and Knapp moved forward. Folder in his right hand, Knapp tapped it against his left as he quickly observed the team in front of him. 6 pairs of eyes followed his gaze. Miller, Mallory, Hepburn, Stokes and Carruthers. Khan moved out from the back. That made 6. 1 missing, he mused. Dunham. Probably on sick again, thought Knapp. He brought the team to order. The team stared at the bald, bullet-headed boss. "Okay, team, listen up," barked Knapp. He lifted the folder up full to see. "This one's been passed down to us for major crimes. It came in yesterday, and now it's got our attention." Several of the team opened their notebooks. In particular, D.S. Mallory fidgeted with his tablet. "We've got a body found yesterday morning in Home Fen Woods. Initial forensic feedback on site suggested the body had been in the ground quite some time. Hence, MC have let us run with this while they focus on the more glamorous issues." His team chuckled. Knapp humour. ACC Drysdale stood at the back and watched events play out. Whilst he admired the team's loyalty, and he knew that Knapp had this in spades. He was a good copper, with good detective work. But instantly Drysdale knew that Knapp was a mess. Physically, he was burnt out. Mentally, he was tired. Even though it was 8 in the morning, Knapp had already been up since 5, and to Drysdale he looked like shit. There was nothing new there. A common appearance, dishevelled suit, tie already hanging at half-mast, grubby white grey shirt. Drysdale knew, however, never judge a book by its cover, but he did begin to wonder if Knapp had actually gotten to sleep in the past 24 hours. Probably not, he thought. Poor bugger. Drysdale wasn't an idiot, however. He knew his teams were being pushed to the limit every day. The merger of the 3 counties, Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire, to form the Tri-Protective Services had occurred a year ago and was still going through its early phases. Knapp and his team of 7 were running a stream of cases spread across 3 counties. That in itself soaked up their time and their lives. The team operated within a tight budget, with minimal resources, coupled with a never-ending pressure to achieve great PR. The newly appointed Commissioner for Police and Crime wasn't helping either. Now Drysdale spent increasing amounts of time each day approaching the Commissioner and appraising him on attending media meetings and what was happening in the world of policing. To him, policing was now like trench warfare. His men were dug deep down fighting a daily war against the enemy, with no real victory in sight. Plus they had the chance to get shelled by a media mess at any time. Drysdale thought if the job didn't burn you up, it sure as hell would spit you out at retirement, with a belly full of anger and a body choked on booze and fag. Knapp continued. At around 8 yesterday morning, a call came in from a local dog walker. Guy's name is Alan Harper. He lives in the local home village. 62 years of age, ex-Royal Marine. However, we checked him out, nothing untoward. It appears he was just out with his dog, who happened to dig up a body buried in the woods. He called it in and sensibly left the area untouched. Knapp read the front sheet. Local plods from Peterborough attended, PC Jones and PC Ishmael. They secured the site. Forensics and MC were on site pretty quickly. Then forensics were on site all day doing their job. They managed to remove the remains, bagged and tagged, and took the relevant soil deposits. They called in an anthropologist, and together with pathology, I believe they worked on the remains overnight. Knapp glanced at his wristwatch. I actually have a meeting with Sandra McLean in the Path Lab in 10 minutes. Miller, I'll have you in attendance. Once we have our findings, I will of course share with you the data. Ensure you maintain access to your computers throughout the day, as I do expect that some information will unfold in the next 24 hours. The team nodded. Newbie Miller looked up and smiled. It was his chance to be with the boss. Knapp continued. So we already know the victim was male. We know that from primary analysis the victim's been in the ground quite some time. However, how long is anybody's guess. We also know the skull showed signs of a bullet wound, so we're waiting more on forensics here. However, unless the victim could have shot himself and then completed a self-burial, we are looking at a homicide. The team laughed. However, they stopped quickly when Drysdale looked across. He failed to see the funny side. Knapp's humour wasn't working today. John, snapped Knapp, looking across at the smartly dressed, dark-haired chap sitting to his left. Holiday's over for you, boy. No more lounging around on a sunbed in sunny Mallorca. I want you to steer communications. You can run lead on this one. Ensure you review homes and missing persons data. As the data grows, we can consider whether to shorten the field. That will all come down to the information we get from forensics. But for now, assume the Vic could be anybody who's been missing during the past 60 years. Figure it out that it's across our 3 counties. If it's bigger, then the patch is going to get worse. On it, boss, replied D.S. Mallory. However, if we don't get any luck, then we're going to be paddling up Ship Creek, barked Knapp. So let's put some serious detective effort into this. Everybody nodded. Miller, said Knapp. As I said, you can run with me on this case, so our next stop is the Path Lab. For everybody else, keep your noses close to the ground, continue to do your usual work, and we'll feed you in on further information. If it spirals, we may call you in. Everybody nodded. With that, the meeting closed. Drisdale took his opportunity then to walk across to Nap and moved in towards the corner of the room. He lowered his voice to a whisper. Don't forget, Colin, we have an NCA officer joining the case tomorrow. They'll be with you, so let's ensure we have some good news. This really is about good PR. Nap was reminded that the NCA, i.e. National Crime Agency, which was a new police and agency initiated by the Home Secretary, went officially live in the UK today. Nap stared at Drisdale. Okay, sir, let's deal with one problem at a time. With that, Nap beckoned Miller. The two grabbed their jackets and headed out the room. Drisdale was left to slope off at his own speed.